Multi-exclusive dimensional being card with another exclusive. Today's video is going to be about how to cure diabetes. Yes, diabetes. Because it's a huge misconception out here that when you go to a doctor and they explain to you that you cannot cure it naturally, what they're doing is rocking you to sleep, because at the end of the day, there's a cause and there's an effect. And of course, just like how is the cause and the effect, you can also be the person that's going to control that cause and effect, or you're going to allow somebody outside of you to basically control that cause and effect. Because doctors are not really trained to cure you. They only train from society, these weak, wicked ass, demonic ass motherfuckers. They only care about the money, feel me? Now, if there was an actual cure in the hospitals, people wouldn't be experiencing all these viruses or all these diseases in general. And I want people to know that diabetes is something that was made in the laboratory, in a lab. Yes, majority of it gets injected in your food, your juices, your sweets, or whatever you want to call it, or you just intake too much sugar, literally. But at the end of the day, the more you intake, the less you'll be able to actually gravitate towards certain things. So that's basically being even obesity or overweight and shit. I'm not coming at people, feel me, that's overweighted or anything like that. I want people to understand that you are the creator of this lifetime. The moment you allow somebody outside of you to dictate or to tell you what to do or tell you how to do things in your life is the moment you will experience spiritual warfare. Once they got your mind, they can control you, literally. And if you don't have a mind of your own, and if you're not leading your mind into directions of basically putting yourself in a predicament, circumstance, situation of basically having balance and inquiries that it levitate towards you, then you're gonna get washed up under the current. So now listen, look at doctors in general. A lot of people be so quick to be like, yo, where's your doctor's license and all of this other shit? But at the end of the day, what the fuck did the doctor ever cure, literally, when you was dealing with any circumstance, situation, health issues? Your body basically is the cure within you. It does this naturally. The moment you keep going back to a doctor, the moment your ass is going to get a compromised immune system, it's gonna fuck your shit up, especially if they don't know what the fuck they doing. And especially if they don't have no rehabilitation of basically construction of how they supposed to utilize things. Feel me? So it's very deep when we dealing with these things and these diseases and viruses and shit. Cause at the end of the day, these motherfuckers don't give a fuck about you. You just a dollar sign when you walk in there and check in. All they care about is the money, feel me? Like niggas, the first thing they ask you, do you got insurance? Motherfuckers gonna be like, wait, that's the first thing that's the first thing you question, like insurance. So this is basically all about the money. Y'all don't give a fuck about a nigga health. Y'all just focus on this money. Yeah, y'all just trying to get me onto this. Look at it like this. You see how people smoke weed? Well, look at it like this. You see how people like crackheads intake cocaine and crack and shit, right? Now, in order for them to basically get high in spirit, they gotta keep going to these dealers and basically buying the cocaine, because they so lost, they so stuck into reality that they give they all to reality and they don't know how to basically get there on a spiritual perspective. So now take that, apply that shit to your doctor. Apply that shit to you having a sickness. Cause I don't got a fucking doctor. I'm my own motherfucking doctor. Feel me? I do this shit. I can do this shit with my mind. I can do this shit writing it down, or I can just go within the tap within and basically do this shit for myself. I'm living proof, and I'm basically letting y'all know y'all living proof also. Your spirit knew what the fuck it was doing when it was in your mom's coochie for 9 months. It created this body, so of course it could basically create anything or basically push out anything as far as eliminating something that don't belong in your body. Also, females too are very motherfucking powerful. And they got this power to utilize this shit as well. So of course, if you doing this and you putting yourself in this perspective, women's manifest way more faster than men. So take this into consideration. You are the cure of your body. Feel me? And I'm not telling people what or what not to eat. It's how you do things in moderation. The moment you overindulge into something, the moment you witness trials and tribulations, that's aka sinning. You the snake and you going in. So basically, once you get too lost into that value, once you get too lost into that yam, that candy yam, that motherfucking mac and cheese, just that ain't nothing wrong with that shit. We love that shit. That's the soul to your. That's the food. That's the soul food right there. Feel me? That's the food that talk to your soul, but also it'll get your ass to itis. And I haven't. Speaking of itis, I haven't had that in so long. But basically, when we talking about this food spectrum shit, right? It's all about programming. Listen, you can eat whatever you want to fucking eat. These foods ain't bad. It's just if it don't resonate with you. And the thing is, a lot of food have batches with it. So if it wasn't treated properly, or if it was put in a predicament, circumstance, situation, it don't look right, and you eat this shit, you can experience a heart attack, you can experience dying, you can experience catching diabetes or some shit, or you just basically overindulge. Now they say this shit is not curable. This shit you have to go to screening, you got to go to laboratory, you got to go. They got to do imagery. Then they talk about something. You got to do therapy. You got to do this, do that. You don't have to do. Listen, you don't got to do none of that fucking shit. Literally, all you gotta do is go within, tap within. Feel me? Listen. Listen. Whatever society told you, they fucking lied to you. They got you living backwards. So the more you keep living backwards, is the more you're gonna keep experiencing separation from yourself. And the more you separate it from yourself, more catastrophic events come into play. Feel me? Especially with this fake ass pandemic that's going on. One of the reasons as to why you need to connect with yourself spiritually, because they basically about to detach our motherfuckers slowly from your motherfucking self. And you allow that shit, if you allow a doctor, if you allow somebody to basically take over your reality, then you really don't have no life. You don't have no purpose. You just a weak ass spirit. And now apply that shit to you allowing somebody outside of you to tell you what you have and what you don't have. Off rip. Now let's get into this cure process, because y'all already fucking know how I get down. Listen, if you want to cure diabetes, you already got to have the mind state of already being cured. The moment you change your mind frame is the moment you can also start on yourself. Now listen, first thing first, you gotta go within. You gotta tap within. You gotta clear all of that bullshit out. For me, the art of resistance, because of course it's gonna be very hard when you utilizing this or putting this into play. Because when you trying to clear your mind, it's always gonna be a hard substance or a structure that's basically trying to block you. It's gonna be very difficult, especially if you're not into this shit. But the more you give your time into that shit, just like how you was eating all them chicken wings and all that food and shit, the more you give your time into this clarity, this clairvoyance, and this space of clarity, things start to uplift off your spirit, off your soul. Literally, as far as thinking, feelings and emotions and all that shit, all those motherfucking colors and shit, that shit'll basically rise off your spirit. Now listen, you can do this in many ways. You can do this with the mind. You can do this with handwritten. You can do this with so many spectrums and shit. It really don't make a difference. It's just all about the mind frame. You got to be very disciplined. You got to really want this shit. You got to be very dedicated. You got to be very determined. Feel me? You got to be very determined. You got to really want this shit. Feel me? And if you don't like eating certain foods and shit, then basically what you can do is basically eliminate the process. And once you eliminate the process, things that basically play out into your spectrum. Feel me? So if you now listen, it don't really matter. I tell you, it don't really matter what you eat. You can have diabetes, you can eat it. You can still eat whatever the fuck you want to eat. It's just all about programming. Feel me? You have the right mind frame, you got the right imagination. You're not getting lost into your desires and just want to overeat and overindulge into shit. Then things won't get too catastrophic for you. But if you really have diabetes and you really trying to get right and shit, and you trying to lose some weight, then it's all about how you take things into consideration. Everything starts with inside of you. It don't start outside of you. Feel me? What starts outside of you is your creations. You are the creator. You created this shit. So basically, this is your shape and form. This is your spectrum. This is how you see life. Don't let nobody else tell you how the fuck you supposed to look at life or basically see life. This is how you see it, and basically this is how you project it. Astral projecting. Now you astral traveling. You experiencing this shit now. So you're gonna experience trials and tribulations and downfalls, and not learn from how to pick yourself up, or you're gonna put yourself in a predicament, circumstance, situation. Basically, always being up and not coming down, unless you want to basically experience certain things. Now listen. Once your mind is right, once you got the mind state of basically wanting and knowing that you already cured, now apply this shit on a day-to-day spectrum. Whatever food you eat, whatever water you eat, you program it, you talk to it, you communicate with it. Feel me? You indulge in it. Feel me? The same way you was indulging into the foods you eat or whatever spectrum that basically created this disease, or whether you got a vaccine, because this also plays with vaccines too. For me, I want people to know that, listen, all these virus, all this shit was made in the lab, and it was given to people to populate them and shit. So no more doctors. You gotta cut your doctor off. Feel me? That's another thing you gotta do is cut your motherfucking doctor off. Especially if you don't see no progress. Especially if, listen, if you're given a fucking pill or this prescription and you gotta take this shit for the rest of your life, you're being scammed. You're being fucking robbed. Listen, because if this shit's supposed to help or basically cure any spectrum outside of you that's within you, you should have had to take it for the rest of your life. That's like basically borrowing crutches. And basically, when you get better, you don't need the crutches no more. The crutches is not gonna harm you. It's not gonna create another circumstance situation. For me, it might take a little bit of weight and add on a little bit more weight to the other leg, but that other leg is basically healed now. What happens? You don't need the crutches no more. Now apply that shit to the prescriptions and pills you've been fucking popping your whole motherfucking life. Now, if you've been popping these pills your whole life and you don't see no changes, then literally something's not right. You being fucking scammed. Then all of a sudden you taking all these motherfucking pills. Now another circumstance, situation, problem pop up and reoccur. Then it's like, damn, now they got you on some other shit. Then they got you on this shit. Now to the point where they want to suggest surgery. They want to chop off your leg because you got diabetes in your leg, or you got diabetes in your stomach or somewhere, or whatever. Feel me? Don't get it. Don't listen. This goes for type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, type 3 diabetes, or whatever the fuck y'all want to call it. Feel me? The type 1, 2, 3 is basically the harder, like basically it's just more weight added. So like more symptoms, more circumstances, situations added. So another thing too, I don't know if people into herbal teas, but this right here, this is called nettle. This is good for teeth. This is good for hair growth. This is good for blood circulation. Also, whatever. Listen, it don't matter what the fuck it's good for. Feel me? It don't matter what the fuck it's good for. As long as you programming this, and this shit is very strong. So when you program this tea, right? You put the substances in there. You feel me? You talk to the tea. You add good feelings and emotions. You basically add your soul through it. You live through it. Feel me? You get your rivers flowing. So basically, once you utilize that shit, feel me? Everything that, listen, all the feelings and emotions and shit that you put in there, make sure when you write this shit down on paper, you really mean it. Feel me? You smile. Feel me? You make sure you in good vibrations, feelings. Listen, your feelings and emotions and thoughts and ideas is not up to par, and your energy is not playing that part. You're not gonna carry shit. Listen, you don't need nothing outside of you. All your answers is within you. And if you can get your inner world correct, you can manifest and do whatever the fuck you want to do on this planet. I don't give a fuck what they tell you. Stop listening to these motherfuckers. They robbing your inner world from you to basically replace that with basically outer perspective. And when you look for something outside of you, you're creating trials and tribulations. So that's basically it. And that's how you cure diabetes. Feel me? Do this with many ways. You can do this with rituals and spells and shit. But you gotta hit me up. I don't want to basically put all this information out here because you know how things is. Just hit me up. Let me know the circumstance situation if you got diabetes, and basically we're gonna cure this shit. And you can just basically cure this shit just like that. Feel me? Just like that. I don't give a fuck what they tell you. Stop listening to these motherfuckers. They tell you need surgery. Punch that motherfucker in his throat chakra. Slap the fuck out them. Come to me. I'm your doctor now.